Picture yourself on a 17th century deck slick with spray, pitched at a wicked angle and lined with no railings at all. One misplaced step and the black water swallows you. In this episode of our series on Old World seafaring dangers, we'll confront a sailor's deepest dread, going overboard, a mishap that was almost always fatal. What befell those who slipped beneath the waves? Was there any hope of escape from that silent end? Stay with us, everything is about to be revealed. A 17th century deck was no place for the faint-hearted. There were no guardrails, no safety nets, no thought given to precautions. Just wet, living planks flexing under the weight of wind and wave. Men spent weeks, sometimes months pacing. Those boards, slick with salt, rain, and the constant threat of a final plunge. The deck became a treacherous arena. Slime, blood, excrement, and brine mixed into a lethal paste that turned every footstep into a gamble. The only sign missing was one that read, "Slippery when wet, chance of death." Gigantic sails thrashed overhead and taut lines could snap like bullwhips. A cable caught by the wind might break bones or toss a sailor into the sea as casually as one might drop a sack of flour. During storms it grew worse. The ship listed violently, waves swept the deck clean, and a man might vanish over the side in the black of night without a soul noticing, or worse. They noticed, but nothing could be done. Falls were not rare. They were expected and occupational. Hazard that nearly always ended in death. If a man went over, the ship sailed on. A wooden giant driven by wind cannot halt on command. In seconds, the victim slipped between swells. One moment of distraction, one loose line, one misplaced boot, and the ocean gained another prize. For sailors then, the deck was both floor and menace. Strength alone didn't suffice. Vigilance ruled survival, for at sea one mistake meant erasure. You might assume rescuing a man overboard would be straightforward, yet in reality it was nearly impossible. Not for lack of compassion, but because of the era's brutal limitations. Galleons, naos, and caravels were wooden leviathans weighing hundreds of tons. Powered only by wind, they could not simply stop. Turning such mass required time, sea room, and a cooperative breeze. Out in mid-ocean, the sea seldom offered a choice. Bringing the ship around could eat up long minutes if the wind allowed it all. In a gale, an abrupt maneuver might snap spars, cripple the rudder, or capsize the vessel. Even if a captain resolved to try, the odds remained dismal. The flailing figure disappeared almost instantly in the troughs. In calm weather, only a handful of seconds separated the ship from the lost man. In the dark, hope was nil. No radios, no sirens existed. A scream scattered on the wind, and word that someone was overboard might arrive too late. If the fall happened at the stern while the lookout stood at the bow, the vessel could travel a staggering distance before anyone knew. Sailors sometimes flung barrels, ropes, or spare timber as markers, but cold reality prevailed. Most ships simply sailed on. Going overboard frightened sailors more than pirates or scurvy. It was solitary, sudden, unrecoverable. No witnesses, no ceremony, no farewell. The plunge marked the beginning of the end, and what followed depended solely on luck or its absence. A sailor wore heavy wool, thick cotton, or salt-soaked leather, stiff boots, belts, and metal fittings. Each item dragged him downward with icy insistence. Within seconds, water flooded lungs, vision faded, and the sea closed like jaws overhead. Even if someone shouted and the alarm was raised, the crew's options were grimly few. They would throw barrels, planks, knotted ropes, anything that might float into the waves, but it rarely made a difference. The ship kept drifting, even if slowly, and the currents often pulled in unpredictable directions. The man in the water might not even reach what had been tossed, or worse, he might already be too weak to try. Another cruel truth: most European sailors didn't know how to swim. Contrary to what many imagine, swimming was a rare skill among seafarers. They understood sails, rigging, and wind, but not water. To them, the sea belonged to the dead, a place to be avoided whenever possible. And for those who did know how to swim, it made little difference. Strength faded quickly in cold or choppy seas. Every stroke became a losing fight against time. Exhaustion and panic. In tropical waters, a new terror lurked: sharks. Drawn by food scraps, waste, blood, and sometimes even discarded corpses, they often followed ships for days. Silently they circled below, like sleek shadows beneath the surface. Sailors commonly spotted them trailing the vessel, earning the grim nickname, Death's Guardians. When someone fell overboard, the danger escalated. Reports exist of attacks occurring within minutes of a fall. Tired, defenseless, and vulnerable, all it took was the predator's instinct to seal a swift, brutal fate. The threat was ever present, silent and unseen. In the end, what happened to those who fell overboard was simple: they vanished. Swallowed by the sea, consumed by silence, as if they had never existed. And the ship sailed on, no return, no record, no farewell. Just another name forgotten by the ocean. This reality pushed some crews to create their own ways of staying safe. In a world without modern technology, caution and survival instinct were a sailor's only protection. During storms, for instance, some men would tie themselves to the ship using thick ropes secured to their belts or waists. They moved stiffly, anchored to the deck like part of the vessel itself, but at least they remained aboard. It wasn't foolproof. If the ship capsized or a rope snagged at the wrong moment, they could be dragged into the depths or crushed against a mast. Even so, many preferred this risk over the certainty of vanishing without a trace. Veteran sailors knew the sea had moods. They avoided stepping out during low visibility hours, early morning, dusk, or dark nights when even a single misstep could be fatal. A rogue wave, unexpected and violent, could slam onto the deck without warning. Sudden gusts might whip the sails sideways in a heartbeat, knocking anyone too close into the abyss. Those who understood the ocean's temperament learned to tread carefully, even under calm skies. But perhaps the most haunting aspect was the symbolic weight that falling overboard carried in some fleets. Among certain crews, especially in the 16th and 17th centuries, it wasn't seen as mere accident. It was viewed as weakness, negligence, or worse, divine punishment. Seafaring superstitions ran deep. Some believed the sea claimed a price on every voyage, and the one who fell was simply the chosen sacrifice. Despite the fear, some did survive. Rare but remarkable cases tell of sailors who clung to barrels, driftwood, or loose cargo for hours. They were rescued by sheer luck, a shift in the wind, an alert lookout, or a passing ship. But those were the exceptions that proved the rule. Ship chaplains or scribes often recorded the loss in the logbook with chilling simplicity. The date, the name, and a dry phrase: fell overboard, not recovered. Nothing more. No burial. No prayer, no body. Just another soul swallowed by the Atlantic. One of the deepest fears among sailors wasn't cannon fire, shipwreck, or scurvy. It was the solitary fall. That moment when the world turned to water, and you became one more secret kept by the sea. For many, it was the last scene of their lives. A misplaced foot, a loose rope, a blink, and then silence. The sea has taken thousands, most of whom will never be remembered. But telling these stories, even in fragments, is a way to give voice to those erased by silence. If this video made you reflect, share it. Let more people discover what lay behind the sails, the ropes, and the falls. And if you enjoy forgotten historical truths like this one, subscribe to the channel and continue this journey through the dangers, secrets, and realities of old world navigation. Until the next crossing.